Most adults expect teens to worry about their clothes, shoes, dating, maybe even their Chipotle orders, but they probably don't expect them to be worried about money. According to Wells Fargo's Money Study, 83% of teenagers actually want to be better with their money. So how can adults help set them up for success? Joining me now, we've got Emily Irwin, Wells Fargo Wealth and Investment Management Managing Director of Advice and Planning. Great to have you here on set with us, Emily.
Great to be here, Brad.
So let's dive into some of these results here. More teens, they want to be smart about their spending, about their saving. What did the survey really show and tell about how they're setting themselves up for success?
Yeah, well, you've already mentioned 80% of them are really focused on wanting to manage their money better, and that is an incredible statistic. What's interesting is it's in direct conflict with the fact that most adults shy aggressively away from wanting to talk about money. And so we have to, as adults and as parents, really set that standard for them to be able to have these conversations.
And so with that in mind, I mean, what's the kickoff point for some of these conversations? I mean, it can be awkward, it can be dicey when you're saying, hey, sit down, Junior, I want to tell you about how you can really make sure that you're managing your money right.
Yeah, let's bring the abstract and the concrete together for kids. That's really important. And so we can start small, whether it's things like showing some of the finances that you might go through on a regular basis. So I think one of the great ways to do this is by instituting both one-time expenses and recurrent expenses with teenagers and kids. So for example, it might be easy to be able to set standards for how do we save for a bike or a new laptop, but we also have to complement that with what the reality is. We like to save for vacations. We also know we need to save for rents and utilities. We also need to make sure that our kids are able to save for cell phone plans or maybe streaming services. How do you balance the two? And you can help them start that by being able to help them set a budget, for example.
And so teens right now, does it seem like, especially with Finstagram, FinTalk, that they're more excited to talk about money and financial planning?
They absolutely are. They're out there. They're talking about, how do we save money? How do we budget? How do we make the most of our dollars? And they want to understand even concepts that might be complex, such as what is compounding? How do we make money on our money? And so as parents, one of the fabulous things is to really set them up for success is to be able to sit them down and say, okay, you have $1,000 from your summer job, for example. If you have an interest rate of 6%, you're going to have, after 1 year, $1,060. Great news. You do that in year 2, you're going to earn $63.60. So all of a sudden, you're earning interest not just on your original amount, but you're earning interest on your earnings as well. That can exponentially grow. Introducing kids at a young age to that concept of money growing on top of money is really important.
Compounding is part of the 3 tips that we want to give people as well here. You've got 3 actionable tips for kids who are, or just young adults that are ready to go to college and planning for that as well. What are they?
Well, savings and compounding, super important. We definitely want to make sure we touch upon that. Understanding credit. This is where I think kids, for the first time, you turn 18, you might be on a college campus and you're approached about opening up your first credit card. Don't have that be your first introduction to credit. Let's talk about credit and starting it early. Explain what credit is really made out of and why it's important. It's going to help you borrow money. Lenders are going to want to let you loan money to you too. You're going to be able to do it at a more advantageous rate most likely and on better terms potentially. They look at credit history, the amount of credit to what you have outstanding, and then of course your on-time payments. That is critical. Maybe even consider having your teen as an authorized user on your card so they can start building credit. And then finally, budgeting. At Wells Fargo, we have a LifeSync in the mobile app experience where you can upload pictures, get inspiration. That is a fabulous way to start thinking about managing both your everyday expenses, checking in with them intentionally, but also understanding how are you going to be able to fund those longer term goals like spring break maybe.
Oh, yeah, indeed. A big funding topic there. Emily Irwin, who is the Wells Fargo Wealth and Investment Managing Director of Advice and Planning. Thanks so much for taking the time here with us today.
My pleasure.